Imagine a small fire, no bigger than a dinner plate, burning steadily for 10 hours without anyone tending it and without electricity. It uses the exact same split wood you stacked last weekend. Now, picture your own backyard fire pit. You load it with an armful of oak, light it, and 90 minutes later, it's completely consumed. By midnight, the ground nearby reads 38 degrees on an infrared thermometer. Cold, wasted energy. The wood is identical, the weather the same, yet here a modest fire produces twice the heat while using half the fuel. This isn't a gimmick. The technique is described in a German farmhouse manual dated 1742. 5 generations of a Lancaster County family applied it. Modern camping guides have ignored it. Later in this story, I'll reveal a single tweak from the back pages of that old German manual that allows 1 load of wood to burn 10 hours unattended. The Amish call it the nightcap log. Few English-speaking homeowners have ever encountered it. The first time I witnessed this in action, it was late October in a backyard near Millersburg. I had my hands in my coat pockets, watching a man named Daniel feed his fire 1 stick at a time. I had brought a full armload of split oak, the way I always did at home. He looked at me, smiled, and said I wouldn't need most of it. He was right. 3 small sticks outlasted my entire pile from a conventional pit. That night, I returned home and abandoned everything I thought I knew about fire building. No new land, no fancy tools. You can do it in your backyard this weekend with the wood you already have. What Daniel did went against every conventional fire building rule. He didn't stack a tall teepee. He didn't arrange a log cabin as scouts are taught. Instead, he dug a hole about 1 foot wide and 1 foot deep, with a smaller side hole connected by an underground tunnel. He placed the wood in the main pit, lit it from the top, and stepped back. Flames drew themselves down into the earth rather than leaping into the wind. Smoke nearly vanished, and heat rolled out of the ground like a furnace vent. Holding my hand 1 foot above the pit, I felt more warmth than standing 3 feet away from my usual above-ground ring. Daniel called this the underground draft method. In the English-speaking world, it's known as a Dakota fire hole. Amish farmers across Pennsylvania and Ohio have used versions of it since the early 1800s. The principle predates the United States. The magic lies in passive convection. Cold air enters the smaller side hole, travels through the tunnel, and meets the burning wood from below, delivering oxygen precisely where combustion needs it most. The side hole acts like a bellows that never stops. No batteries, no fans, no electricity. Just the natural flow of air driven by the contrast between the cold breeze at ground level and the hot column rising from the buried flames. Because the fire sits below ground, the soil itself becomes part of the heating system. Pit walls absorb and radiate heat inward. The wood doesn't simply burn, it bakes. Each stick releases nearly twice as much usable energy since minimal heat escapes. I measured this with a $32 infrared thermometer the following morning. The soil around Daniel's pit still registered over 190 degrees Fahrenheit 8 hours after the last flame faded. By contrast, my standard above-ground fire was stone cold at sunrise, and the ash was damp with dew. That's the difference. But the hole is just the beginning. The reason this knowledge vanished from typical American backyards traces back to the post-World War II camping boom. Companies flooded the market with steel fire rings, prefabricated pits, propane tables, and glossy patio heaters. Advertising sold the image of tall, roaring flames with sparks climbing into the sky. Bigger flames meant better experience, magazines claimed, selling lighter fluid and cords of wood. But it was wrong. The Amish, the Mennonite farmers and trappers in the upper Midwest, never bought into it. They understood that a tall flame is heat escaping. Their ancestors brought this wisdom from Germany's Palatinate region and Switzerland in the 1700s. A household manual, sometimes called the House Vater tradition, explicitly instructs sinking cooking and heating fires below ground for efficiency in winter. Amish settlers preserved this method outdoors, for work, sugaring, butchering, and overnight woodlot watches. They refined it further, adding a side draft tunnel, learning which soils retained warmth, and realizing clay-heavy soil in eastern Pennsylvania and central Ohio held heat better than sand. This knowledge never reached mainstream homesteading books, which copied European aristocratic fireplace designs rather than consulting practical farmers. Instead, it was passed quietly from grandfather to grandson. I only discovered it because Daniel's father in his 80s watched me struggle with wet wood one afternoon. He calmly said I was working too hard for too little heat. Taking the shovel from me, 20 minutes later we had a fire that lasted until the next morning. Standing there, I realized I had been robbed for 50 years. Every camping trip, every backyard fire, every cord of wasted wood, it was an industry quietly profiting from my ignorance. The next step was clear. I had to learn to build this fire myself. Now I'm going to guide you step by step, so you can create the same long-lasting, efficient fire in your own yard before the sun sets. If you already have a home and think this method only applies to new construction, stay focused. This is for existing homeowners. No contractor calls, no permits. No $400 steel patio rings that waste most of their heat into the sky. All you need is a shovel, a patch of bare soil at least 4 feet away from any building, and about 45 minutes. Here's the precise way to construct an Amish-style underground heat pit in your current backyard. Select a flat patch of bare earth. If your yard is fully grassed, lift a small square of sod with your shovel and set it aside. You can replace it later, leaving no trace. Dig the main hole roughly 12 inches across at the top and about 15 inches deep. Shape the wall slightly inward toward the base, like a small inverted funnel. That inward taper channels heat upward to your hands and face instead of letting it spread sideways into the surrounding soil. Next, on the side, facing the prevailing wind and about 10 inches from the main pit's edge, dig a second smaller hole about 6 inches wide and 10 inches deep. This will serve as the air intake. Connect the bottoms of the two holes with a tunnel just wide enough to fit your forearm. This tunnel acts as the engine of the entire system. Cold air enters the smaller hole, rushes through the tunnel, and strikes the base of the fire from underneath, producing double the heat output. Line the bottom of the main pit with 3 or 4 small flat stones if possible. River rocks, field stones, or anything heat-retaining works well. Avoid porous stones like limestone, which may crack or explode in a hot fire. In Holmes County, Amish builders often use broken brick pieces from old chimneys. Cheap, effective, and safe. Place your tinder, kindling, and 3 or 4 split hardwood pieces directly on these stones. Light the fire from the top, not the bottom. Top-down ignition is a critical part of the secret. Lighting from the top allows the flames to burn downward slowly. Hot coals fall onto the heated stones while the draft tunnel delivers oxygen precisely where it is needed. Wood lasts nearly twice as long as in a bottom-lit fire because it is consumed in a controlled descent rather than in a fast, explosive burn. Within 15 minutes, you'll notice short, blue-based flames, almost silent, radiating extraordinary heat. Smoke is minimal since oxygen supply is efficient, burning almost every wood vapor cleanly inside the pit. Your eyes won't sting. Clothes remain smoke-free. Neighbors won't even realize a fire is burning unless they look directly into your yard. Here's the part that matters most for suburban homeowners. Nothing has to be permanent. Once the fire is out and ashes cool, scoop them up, refill the holes with the reserved soil, and replace the sod square. Your yard will look exactly as it did before. You can recreate the pit in a different location next weekend if desired. No installations, no infrastructure, no inspectors. It is the most low-impact, high-output heating method I have personally tested. I tested it in 3 different states across 2 winters before confirming it worked consistently. But digging the hole is only half the process. The other half is the wood itself. Here is where conventional American camping advice gets it wrong. You've likely been told all your life that the best firewood is dense, hard, well-seasoned oak or hickory. That's true for indoor stoves, but for an outdoor underground heat pit, the Amish follow a completely different approach. Once you understand it, you'll never go back. They layer the wood intentionally. Heavy hardwood at the bottom, lighter, faster-burning wood like ash, beech, or well-dried apple on top. The physics are simple, yet no American guide mentions it. The bottom of the pit, where the draft tunnel supplies oxygen, needs wood that forms a long-lasting bed of coals. Hard oak is ideal. It glows red for hours. The top, where flames ignite, requires wood that catches fast and releases heat quickly, establishing a stable convection cycle. Lighter hardwoods accomplish this perfectly. Stacked this way and lit from the top, the lighter wood ignites the heavier wood as it falls into the coal bed below. Within the first hour, a deep, glowing core of hardwood coals forms at the bottom, radiating heat into the soil and stones. This core retains usable warmth for 6, 7, even 8 hours, long after visible flames vanish. I've walked outside at 4 a.m. to pits lit the night before and still felt heat rising from the ground. Lancaster County Amish farmers rely on this method during late fall butchering, needing steady outdoor heat for hours without running back inside. They taught me to think of the wood stack, not as fuel, but as a battery. Hardwood at the base is the long-life cell. Lighter wood on top is the starter. Pit walls and stones act as storage, and the draft tunnel serves as the regulator. When all 4 components work in harmony, you get continuous, even radiant heat, something no above-ground fire I've built can match. There's another wood principle Amish builders follow that mainstream guides rarely mention. They do not waste their densest hardwood on mild nights. Oak and hickory are reserved for January and February when the cold is deepest and burn duration is critical. In October and November, when temperatures are moderate, softer wood is used for faster, shorter burns because extended heat is unnecessary. This is a resource discipline honed over generations without gas or electricity, where each cord represents hours of chopping labor. They burn sparingly in fall, saving dense hardwood for the coldest months, often consuming only 60 to 70% of the firewood that a neighboring English family would use on a similar property. I spent time with one Holmes County Amish family who powered their entire home outdoor cooking fires, and sugaring operations on roughly 4 cords per winter. Meanwhile, the English family nearby burned 7 cords in an open fireplace and still complained of cold rooms. The difference was not the wood itself, it was the method. Even before making any changes to your home, you can transform the way you build fires and manage your wood across the seasons. By Christmas, you will notice a difference in how your woodpile performs. But before I reveal the secret promised at the very start, one quick note. Everything I've uncovered from old German manuals and Amish barns, the underground draft pit, the side tunnel acting as a free bellows, top-down ignition, broken brick linings salvaged from old chimneys, the layered wood load with dense hardwood at the bottom and lighter wood on top, the careful saving of oak for January, and the nightcap log, I'm about to connect them all with the breath line from the $8 fix video, the buried clay jar from the cooling trench experiment, the stew wall from the heating demonstration, and countless other techniques collected from Lancaster County and Holmes County over the years. I've organized it all into a single system, room by room, season by season, following the order families actually use. This is known as the Amish home system. But stay focused, because hidden in the back pages of a 1742 House Vader manual, written in old German script, is the single adjustment that allows a single load of wood to burn for 10 hours without anyone attending it. This is the piece I promised from the start, where everything converges. During my 3rd winter visiting plain communities, I was shown a small handwritten document kept in a wooden box in the attic of an Amish family in Lancaster County, tracing through 5 generations. The oldest pages were in German script barely legible today, even to scholars, and the front cover listed the date as 1742. This document, a household manual called a House Vader book, was brought across the Atlantic by a German-speaking farmer who settled in Berks County, Pennsylvania in the mid-18th century. Most of it details crop rotation, animal care, food preservation, and remedies for common ailments. Yet 3 pages near the back describe a unique outdoor fire method the family had used consistently for 200 years. It combined the underground draft pit with one final tweak I had never seen recorded anywhere in any mainstream American source. Once the fire is built and burning steadily, take a piece of green hardwood, ideally green hickory or green oak, no larger than your wrist, and lay it across the top of the pit, slightly off-center, covering about half the opening. That is it. Such a small step seems trivial, almost unbelievable, but this single green log transforms the pit from a regular heating fire into a long-burning radiant heater capable of 10 to 12 hours from one load. Because the green wood contains moisture, it does not ignite immediately. Instead, it slowly bakes from below, releasing steam while its underside carbonizes. As it carbonizes, it forms a partial cap over the pit opening, significantly reducing the escape of hot air. The fire beneath cannot rush into open flames, because the oxygen flow is now regulated by the small gap between the green log and the pit edge. Combustion slows to an almost perfect smolder. The pit's soil walls absorb and re-radiate the heat, and the green log eventually becomes part of the fuel load 8 or 9 hours later, after drying from the heat below. The Amish called this the nightcap log. They explained that their grandfather, great-grandfather, and great-great-grandfather had all done the same on cold nights when one person needed warmth in the barnyard while watching over a sick or calving animal. This technique is documented in the 1742 manual, written in plain German, as a method to maintain a fire through an entire winter night without tending. I tried it myself the following week in my backyard, in a properly constructed underground pit. I lit the fire at 9 p.m., placed the green log across the opening at about 10:30 p.m., and went inside. When I returned at 6 a.m., a glowing coal bed remained under the carbonized log. The surrounding soil was warm to the touch, and a pot of water placed on the stones the night before was still steaming. 9 hours of usable heat from a single load, in open air with no tending, no electricity, no fan, no gadgets, no fuel additives, just a hole, a tunnel, properly stacked wood, and the green log placed at the precise moment. This is the 200-year heat secret. It is what the Amish have known long before this country existed. It sat quietly in a wooden box in a Lancaster County attic, while the rest of America spent billions on patio heaters, propane fire pits, and steel rings that throw most of their heat into the night sky. This knowledge was never lost by accident. It was deliberately sidelined generation after generation, as industries profited by selling fire that escapes upward rather than holds its ground. Tonight, you have it back. If you are someone who understands that real knowledge was buried so others could sell you inferior versions, you already know your next step. Go into your backyard this weekend. Dig the 2 holes. Stack the wood as described. Place the green log across the top before bed. Then return and share one thing in the comments. What type of soil did you use? Was it Pennsylvania clay, Texas sand, or Michigan loam? Record the soil and the time the heat finally died. This is how we create a record the mainstream guides will never publish. If this shifts how you think about something as simple as a backyard fire, Consider how many other areas in life are run inefficiently because someone profited from teaching the wrong method. Recovering this knowledge isn't about supporting me, it is about joining a quiet movement to reclaim wisdom lost over centuries. One technique at a time, one Amish farmhouse at a time, one buried document at a time. The next video I am preparing will reveal how the Amish maintain an upstairs bedroom at a steady 72 degrees in February without ducts, vents, or thermostats. The trick involves something most American homeowners pass daily without noticing. Keep your fire low and slow. Remember, those who preserved this knowledge for 200 years did so intentionally, knowing a day would come when the rest of us would need it back. That day is today. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.